Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Aw, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing. Finding the right tool helps, and that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of U.S. e-commerce. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/retail. Go to shopify.com/retail.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Today, Perplexity offered Google $34.5 billion to buy Chrome, and Google said we were selling it. Also, Reddit is blocking the Internet Archive because ... AI.
Okay, yeah. We got a lot to talk about. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Tom Merritt.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. Yeah, we had different ideas for what we're going to lead this show with. And then Perplexity announced its offer of $34.5 billion to Google to acquire Google's Chrome web browser. Now, Perplexity's own value is estimated right around $18 billion. So $34.5 billion for the acquisition, $18 billion for its own value. That's pretty far lower than the offer that they've given for Chrome, obviously. But Perplexity says many of its investors and VC funds are committed to backing the company if such an acquisition was allowed to go through. Perplexity also proposed that it would continue to support and maintain Chromium. It would continue to offer Google as the default search engine within the Chrome browser. So they're saying like, hey, see, we'll do all these things. See, we promise to take care of the vehicle. Just last year, Google was ruled an illegal monopoly in the U.S. online search market. Last December, Justice Department asked the federal court to consider forcing Google to sell off its Chrome browser to repair the search monopoly. That's like broad strokes explanation. But Tom, you've got kind of deeper dive into kind of the backstory here that leads us to Perplexity thinking it could buy Chrome without Google being compelled to sell it.
An unnamed source of mine in Silicon Valley, when seeing this news, said, that guy's crazy. Keep in mind that Perplexity also offered to buy TikTok before it was actually for sale, although a lot of people were lining up to buy TikTok, so they weren't alone. This is a great way to get press. The Department of Justice did suggest that making Google sell Chrome would be one remedy to the antitrust case it's involved in. It was not the only thing that it suggested. And also, the judge didn't seem like he was leaning towards doing that, nor does he have to. So let's clear up some of the background on this. There are 2 antitrust cases against Google in the U.S. right now. So that's worth reminding people about. Later this month, we are expected to hear Judge Mehta rule on a remedy to one of them. That's the case about Google's search advertising. You can think about that one as being regarding ads on search. Mostly on Google, but yes. In this case, a different judge determined that Google abused its dominant position. Well, not a different judge. Judge Mehta determined that Google abused its dominant position to sell text ads on its search engine. So that's the thing that they are trying to remedy. They determined that exclusive deals with Mozilla, Samsung, and Apple were evidence of that. So this is the Google search ads case. The harm was that text ad rates became no longer price sensitive, according to Judge Mehta. And so there are lots of remedies that involve search that are more pertinent to solving the problem, Jason. Having them sell Google Chrome would just be one way to prevent them from having influence over the broader search market by making Google the default search engine, which Perplexity saying they'll keep Google as the default search engine would seem to undermine if that were the reason for that remedy.
Yeah. So when Perplexity says that, are they saying that to convince Google, hey, it's all going to be okay? Like, I realize, like, because I guess where I'm coming from is it's a different thing when a judge says, hey, Google, you're the one that has your search engine in the wrong places or whatever the case may be. But if somebody else owns it and they choose to have Google be there, is that a different story?
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that you found evidence that they said that, to be honest, because I feel like what Perplexity would do if this were to become real would be like, we can't engage in any deals because that would, cause questions with the court on this court ordered sale, and the court might put restrictions on that were it to do that. Real quickly, there is another Google antitrust case that has not had its remedy hearing. That one is that Google abused its dominant position by tying ad serving and ad exchanges together in Google Ad Manager. That's the Google Ad Manager case. It applies to how ads are sold all over the internet. The harm there was locking out competitors and reducing product features. A remedy hearing on that is scheduled for September 22nd. So there's the Google Ad Manager case and there's the Google Search Ads case. They're both ads, but one is Google placing ads in its own search engine, and the other is Google selling ads anywhere. And doing the ad manager. In the case where Google has been found by Judge Mehta to have abused its dominant position in search text advertising, that's the one where the DOJ said you could divest Chrome. That might be a remedy. They also said you could sell Android. That might be another remedy. And during the remedy hearing, which was in April, OpenAI's ChatGPT chief Nick Turley was asked by the Department of Justice's attorney if the judge ordered Google to sell Chrome, would OpenAI to be interested in buying it? And Turley said, yes, we would, as would many other parties.
Like so this, Perplexity.
Yeah, Perplexity's just like jumping the queue and saying like, we would like to make a headline, please. We would like people to talk about Perplexity, please. Because if and when this gets ordered, there will be a lot of other people saying we would also like to make a bid. It could also be the Department of Justice encouraging them to go public to maybe nudge the judge by saying like, look, there's plenty of people willing to buy it. There's
that was one of my
table.
questions about this is how much by issuing an actual offer in such a public way, does that influence the decision in any way to be like, oh, well, there's some sort of concrete evidence that there's something here to this. So maybe we will.
In a very tiny way, it probably can. Because, if the judge is like, well, I'd order him to issue Chrome, but nobody would buy it. Or they'd have to sell it at a fire sale and they'd lose money. That could affect the judge. Because the judge is trying to say, what will remedy the search engine part of this? Right. And if there's like, hey, here's an offer on the table. It's a decent offer. It's like right in the middle of the valuation of Chrome. Everybody's making a big deal, by the way, about the 18 billion Perplexity has, but they're like, we have investors. So honestly, it's just like, a smaller company figured out how to buy a bigger company. It's not like Perplexity would have to use the 18 billion of its valuation.
Right.
To buy it. And so, this is just, this could be a one notch among hundreds of notches that Judge Mehta will consider. And in those hearings, the judge indicated he might favor softer remedies like limiting Google's data sharing or ending payments to Google and saying you can't be an exclusive search engine on anything anymore. You can't get paid for that. We don't know, but we will find out probably during experiment week because we decided that was the week when no news would happen. I'm guessing Judge Mehta will issue his decision then, but by the end of August, we'll have it. And Perplexity doing this indicates that there's buzz about what the judge might do. I'm not sure if it says that he's leaning towards ordering a divestment of Chrome, but there's buzz about that.
Right.
And so
how would they even know? Potentially.
A leak from the court clerk, or, the judge ordered extra information on something that are like, oh, maybe he is looking into it. Who knows? Whatever he decides, though, and this basically undermines everything we've been saying, Google's going to appeal. Google's going to say, they're waiting for the remedy trial. They've already said, we're going to appeal this decision. We don't think it's correct. So they have to wait for the remedy to be decided before they can file the appeal, because the case isn't over yet until the remedy has been decided. So whatever the remedy is decided, Google's going to immediately say, we'd like to appeal this. The appeal will probably be heard, and an injunction will probably be provided to say, hold on Judge Mehta's remedies until we hear the appeal.
And if Perplexity, has 34 point some odd billion to offer for a Chrome acquisition, if this was kind of the scenario that was allowed to, or encouraged or required to happen, Google, you've got to sell off Chrome. Does another company come along and say, well, actually 34.5 billion, that's less than what we're willing to offer? Because I think when you talk about kind of acquisition, appeal, Chrome browser, there's a lot of appeal for being being the company that owns a Chrome browser. You have to imagine that Perplexity's offer is not the peak of what that would be if it was even compelled to do, which I have a high amount of doubt that Google will be compelled to sell off Chrome.
In the unlikely event that Google's appeal was denied, or a slightly more likely, but still very unlikely event, Google's appeal is accepted, but there's not an injunction against Meta's remedy, and they're forced to sell Chrome while they do the appeal. Those are both extremely unlikely. But in the unlikely event of both of those, we would see a bidding war happen. You would see people lining up to say, well, we have a better offer. Maybe it's a larger amount, or maybe it's just like a stock swap. Perplexity is not offering a stock swap here. They're not letting Google keep a stake in it, or in Perplexity or anything like that. So
true.
It could be that we would see a bidding war, and Perplexity would lose out. Perplexity was able to put this together. They did have to do the work of going to investors and say, hey, on the off chance that we were able to buy Chrome, would you invest at this amount? And the investors were like, yeah, sure. I doubt that's going to happen. But if it did, yeah, I'd be stupid to say no at that price. Sure. And they also probably think like, man, you're not going to get it. So it's low risk for me to say yes.
Totally.
And I've built up some positive credibility with Perplexity, and I can call in a favor in the future, et cetera, et cetera. That seems to be, from the outside, what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see this happening, but I'm not surprised at all that Perplexity is the first to do it. They're really good, especially in recent months, really good at making their way into the news through kind of stunts like this.
Yeah.
But, it'd be
why
interesting
not
if they did.
offer on TikTok? Why not offer on Chrome and get people talking? Who's this Perplexity? Right. Or
what do you have to lose?
Yeah, people like yourself who are using Comet. How did you feel immediately when you thought of the idea of like, ooh, what if Comet was replaced by Chrome?
Well, I mean, in using Comet, which is Perplexity's agentic, browser that's built on Chromium. It's not a perfect tool. It's not a perfect browser. It's not my default. I use it for specific things, but it has really had me question why Google hasn't done something similar with its Chrome browser. Like, why is Gemini this little button that kind of integrates a little bit, but not quite to the degree that something like Comet does? And so, I mean, I think that Chrome could benefit from a little bit more integration as far as AI into the browser is concerned. And so obviously Perplexity has the roadmap for how they would do it. And that's at least the beginnings of Comet. And I mean, I'm there. I support that. I'm just kind of surprised that Google hasn't gone that direction.
I'm a little surprised too. It could have to do with this case. It could be them playing it safe. Because Gemini was brought up a lot by the Department of Justice in the case, even though this case was about search text advertising. They were trying to show potential for Google dominance in the future, because the judge was asking questions of like, hey, if everybody's using ChatGPT for search, does it really matter? I mean, are we fixing a problem that's over here with search advertising? So they were trying to show like, hey, Google has dominance. And if Google were adding Gemini to Chrome in advance of a case, that could be used against them. So they may be waiting until they get this all figured out before they do too much integration. But that is also allowing them to fall behind of Dia and Comet and those. On the other hand, they got time. Like nobody is ditching Chrome for Dia or Comet unless they have a very specific case. And even you who have Comet are like, yeah, I use it for specific things, but I don't use it all the time.
I launch it for a specific reason and then I'm out of it and I'm back to my normal experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully that helps you wrap your heads around that, folks. But feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com if you got more thoughts. DTNS is made possible by you, the listeners. Big thanks to Paul Boyer, D Laser, Brad, and our brand new patron, Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Also known as Bri.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Hey there, it's Ryan Seacrest for Safeway. Now through August 28th, it's back to deals time where you can enjoy store-wide deals and earn 4 times points. Look for in-store tags to earn on eligible items. From Hershey's, Cheez-It, Kellogg's, Gatorade, Smartwater, Skinny Pop, Oberto, Zoa, and Activia. Then clip the offer in the app for automatic event-long savings. Shop in-store or online for easy drive-up-and-go pickup or delivery. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply. Visit Safeway.com for more details.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Did you know adults 60 plus lose more than $60 billion each year to financial exploitation? Greenlight's new Family Shield plan empowers you to monitor your accounts for suspicious activity, protect yourself with up to $1 million identity theft coverage, and reassure loved ones that you're safe with location sharing and place alerts. Get peace of mind today at greenlight.com/protect. That's greenlight.com/protect.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, there's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
Yes. Elon Musk. He says a lot of things. And a thing he said today is that he will have his company XAI sue Apple, claiming that the App Store's rankings violate antitrust rules by favoring and prominently displaying OpenAI. This is in the recommended section. He claims Apple makes it impossible for any AI app besides ChatGPT to hit number 1 on the charts. Currently, ChatGPT sits at number 1, while Grok sits at number 5 in the U.S. top free apps. OpenAI Sam Altman pushed back on X, referring to allegations that Musk manipulates X to assist his own companies. Community notes on X also cited DeepSeek hitting number 1 in January. Perplexity, just talking about it, hitting number 1 in India in July, all following Apple's OpenAI deal. We haven't seen any court documents filed either. So this is not Musk filing a suit. This is Musk saying he is going to file a suit.
This is Musk talking very publicly about something that gets a lot of other people talking merely because he talked very publicly about it. Musk knows how to play the game.
Yeah.
And this is how he gets people talking about these things and applying pressure. Whether there's a lawsuit or not, this has the potential of applying the pressure that he's looking for on Apple to avoid or to just, sidestep the drama that often comes with Musk talking about things publicly.
And Grok is probably undervalued because there is so much prejudice against Musk. And Grok is a very good model by all accounts of people who just follow the numbers. So, he's trying to make sure that people pay attention to it as well, and maybe trying to cast himself as the underdog with these big tech companies against his big tech company.
Oh, the underdog, the scrappy upstart Elon Musk.
Yeah. One of these days he'll get a leg up.
Right.
Catch a break.
He'll catch a break. Reddit announced it will block the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine from indexing most of its site. Reddit has blocked scraping of its own content on the site itself and cut deals with Google and OpenAI to gain access to that data. So they've monetized that access for AI usage in very specific situations, but claims that its content on the Internet Archive is actually a workaround for AI companies who are looking to use its content in the development of their own models without paying Reddit for it directly, right? If it's archived on the Internet Archive, then AI companies can just go there and scrape the same kind of information and not have to pay Reddit for it, is what Reddit says anyways. Post pages, comments, and profiles will be blocked. That leaves only the reddit.com homepage for daily snapshots that would make their way to the Internet Archive.
Yeah. So this is not Reddit upset at Internet Archive. This is Reddit saying, we have to block a loophole. Sorry, guys. We'll let you index our homepage for posterity's sake. But that's it. I think Internet Archive isn't going to pay for access to this, but also that would be a violation to display it publicly anyway, even if they did pay. Because what Reddit's saying is people who might pay us otherwise are going to Internet Archive and using our data without paying us. Now, not everyone who goes to Internet Archive and scrapes that data would pay us, but enough of them might that it's degrading our ability to make money. So we're not going to let Internet Archive scrape us. Internet Archive might say, okay, then you are not helping the future of Internet history, because Internet Archive, if you don't know, is just a nonprofit library. Its job is to preserve the Internet and all the information on it as much as possible. It would be against its own principles for it to say, okay, we'll scrape Reddit, but we'll keep it off the Wayback Machine for a certain amount of time. And who knows how much of time would satisfy Reddit. So it's kind of a conundrum here, because it is degrading the way the open internet has worked in the past, and degrading something positive, which is, preserving information for posterity.
I absolutely love the work that they do at the Internet Archive. And so anytime something like this happens, it's sad, because the whole point is to, preserve that history. And it's an intense amount of really important history. At the same time, I totally, I can understand if it's a loophole. What this kind of is surprising to me is just it's just a reminder of the vast amount of data that the Internet Archive is dealing with as far as, because when I think of the amount of data that's hitting Reddit on a daily basis, are they really comprehensively copying, moving over that information from Reddit, all subreddits? Yes.
Yeah.
That's
much
amazing.
Of it as they can. The Internet Archive is
just one site,
impressive. Yeah.
It really is. It just blows me away when I hear that kind of stuff. I'm like, there's no way that they're only getting a portion of it, right? No, they're getting all of it. That's just crazy.
Epic has announced that it's bringing Fortnite for iOS and Android back to Australia after a federal judge found Apple and Google used their app stores to limit competition. A judge named Beach rejected Epic's consumer law and unconscionable conduct claims, all of which is detailed in a more than 2,000-page long judgment, which will not be released publicly. So we're going to have to rely on people who can access it to leak out the details. But essentially, they said the restricting on payments and taking 30% was anti-competitive, and so you can't do that anymore. And that's enough for Epic to say, we're not saying when, but we're bringing it back.
We're bringing it back.
Another win for Epic on the App Store front.
I know, man. They really they really went out on a limb early on, and it's that the gamble has really paid off for them. It's pretty remarkable to kind of see the reverberations of this throughout.
They've loosened it up in the EU through political pressure, not through a court case. They've loosened it up in the US through a court case, and they've loosened it up in Australia through a court case. It's also been loosened in Korea. It's been loosened in Japan. I feel like maybe the App Store makers should get the hint of like just loosen up a little bit before you're forced to loosen up more.
Totally. Well, and it's a minefield, you know, that's also another thing that I often look at with cases like this, or, you know, where different locales and locations have different rulings and different rules that that Apple or Google has to kind of reshape their products to be different things in different places. And at a certain point, doesn't it just get so completely over complex that it just kind of makes business sense to just put it all on a level playing field? And
honestly, I've been of the opinion if they just allowed third-party payments in the beginning, they wouldn't have faced a lot of these pressures, a lot of these court cases, and they would be able to do some things that these laws and court cases are now prohibiting them from doing in order to preserve folks getting in there. And I know people are like, well, shouldn't they get paid for the upkeep of their store? And like, yeah, they should. And it's weird that they only require digital items to do the upkeep. Whereas if I'm Wayfair selling furniture, I can have a third party payment system. I don't have to share 30% with Apple. So it was a weird way for them to draw a line that just doesn't make sense in reality for most people.
Yeah, indeed. Microsoft is rolling out 3 lightweight Microsoft 365 companion apps for a wide release on Windows 11. This is after first being announced at Ignite. The new mini apps will rest on the taskbar. They will automatically launch at startup, and there's a few of them. There's the People app that shows a kind of like a browsable org chart sort of thing. So you can look up coworkers, you can start team chats, calls, send emails, that sort of stuff. The File Search app gives quick access to Microsoft 365 files, of course, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Outlook, all with search and filters integrated. And then the Calendar app shows upcoming events, of course. That includes some search functionality, and you can join meetings all from the taskbar. So, really designed to get you into these experiences quickly in an integrated sense.
The taskbar app situation is always fraught, because on the one hand, it's a great idea of like, oh, I just want to be able to glance, quickly click and get something. And on the other hand, now you've polluted my taskbar.
Yes.
Yes. So do I really want this or not? These aren't like default. They're not just going to show up there without you able to have a choice in the matter. But I'd be curious how many people find these productive.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
The U.S. issued licenses last Friday to let NVIDIA and AMD sell inference chips, not training chips, but less capable chips like the NVIDIA H20 or the AMD MI308 to Chinese companies. But China's government is now saying you might not want to buy those Chinese companies. Financial Times reports that China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology has requested tech companies explain why they need to order NVIDIA H20 chips instead of using Chinese alternatives. Not banning it, just saying you got to have a good reason. Bloomberg previously reported that China is discouraging the use of NVIDIA chips for government-related work. All of this goes on while China and the U.S. continue to negotiate a new trade deal. So one expects that some of this is leverage, right?
Yes.
Like, we'll stop
100%.
Discouraging companies from buying the H20 if you give us X in the trade deal.
Oh, yeah? What do you think of this one? Oh, yeah? What do you think of this one?
That's how trade deals go.
Yeah, that's totally. And
That's
they're
actually-
both in
that
the
wasn't
same room
Jason.
swatting each other.
That was a recording from the trade negotiations.
Yeah. Did I just leak that out? I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. GitHub CEO Thomas Dohmke announced on the company blog that he will step down at the end of the year to, quote, become a founder again. Microsoft does not plan to directly replace his CEO role. Instead, they're opting to give GitHub leaders to have them report to key Microsoft executives in the core AI division. So essentially, GitHub kind of moving into the AI division of Microsoft. At least this is according to Axios reporting. It's currently unclear how his departure might influence the way GitHub operates, how it develops its products. But I think, heading into the AI division is at least a certain sign of where things are going.
Yeah, certainly with Cursor out there and others,
Yes.
GitHub is seen as something that needs to stay competitive in providing tools for coders that use generative models, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of people are concerned that not replacing the CEO diminishes GitHub's independence. One thing that people were worried about when Microsoft bought GitHub is, would Microsoft have too much influence over it? And Dumke was a bulwark there of saying like, no, GitHub still, exists for GitHub. And now you don't have that individual in that place. That's concerning.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sling TV is now going to sell access in 24-hour, weekend, or week-long terms to its streaming TV service if you just need to watch the game or the award show or whatever it is. These passes give you access to everything in the Sling Orange plan, which is really an overcomplicated subset of everything Sling offers in the Blue plan. It's a weird thing that goes back like a decade now, but the Blue plan has Fox Sports. The Orange plan has ESPN. And there's a few other ABC versus Fox differences. Also, Sling doesn't carry CBS, so you're not getting any CBS sports stuff here. Anyway, if you want the ESPN stuff, the day pass costs $5, the weekend pass costs $10, and a week-long pass is $15, whereas a month of Orange subscription would be $46. And you can add the add-ons. They have a sports add-on, a news add-on, entertainment add-on, kids add-on. The extra packs are $1 for a day, $2 for the weekend, or $3 for a week. Just intriguing to see them offering smaller windows of subscription for people who are like, I don't need to pay for an entire month. I just want to watch the college football this weekend, for example.
Totally. I can totally see that too. Like, during football season, and granted, I don't know how much this actually applies to, like NFL games or whatever, but, there was a time in my life and my wife and I's life when we would buy the Sunday ticket and we would watch enough games for it to seem worth it. Now we're just too busy and we can't really do that. But there are times where it's like, you know what? I just want to see that game. Yeah. And like, I don't want to have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to just see that one game. I would totally pay $5 one off to just like see that day's programming.
Yeah. And if that game is on ESPN or ABC or NBC, and you want to pay $5 to get it, that might be worth it for you.
Totally.
So this is the kind of thing when everybody's like, aren't we just going back to cable? It's like, yeah, but you can do stuff like this that you could never do with cable TV. Yeah. So that's interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is. Samsung launched its first 115-inch Micro RGB TV in South Korea for the I thought eye-watering sum of $32,000, but not quite as eye-watering as another sum I'll talk about in a second. The backlight uses ultra-fine, individually colored red, green, and blue LEDs, of course RGB, under 100 microns. The set brings improvements to color accuracy. You've got improvements to contrast, very vibrant, a lot of vibrancy improvements. Samsung's 110-inch micro LED set actually runs more eye-wateringly, $150,000 in the U.S. So the company is positioning Micro RGB as the more affordable option by comparison. A U.S. and global rollout is set to follow, more sizes to come upon a wider release as well.
And Apple Cinemas, an independent theater chain, was, as you might not be surprised to learn, hit by a trademark lawsuit from Apple Incorporated, the computer company, arguing that there's potential for confusion among consumers. Company says its name originated from its first planned site at Apple Valley Mall in New England and has been used for more than a decade through its U.S. expansion. Apple Cinemas is rejecting Apple's claim of consumer confusion, says its branding is clearly differentiated, shows no affiliation with Apple Inc., and Apple Cinemas says it will continue to defend its identity in court.
Yeah, and I mean, the logo kind of sort of has an Apple looking thing in it, but it looks nothing like Apple Inc.'s Apple. So there's no.
It's not just the service mark, right? It's not just the logo, it's the name. And if Apple has Apple TV and they have the right to have Apple TV and they have Apple Music, Apple Cinema, and especially because Apple makes movies, I don't know if they're going to win this one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
All next week is our annual DTNS experiment week. Every year, we swap out our normal DTNS show and try out some new ideas. In previous years, we launched shows like Behind the Data or The Tech John, which are going strong as independent podcasts now. This year, we have Jason and the Android Faithful crew is going to do a live reaction to the Pixel event. Roger interviewed Adam Sessler from Tech TV, ZDTV, G4 fame. There's a bunch of other shows. You'll want to check them out. It all starts next week, Monday, August 11th, right here on the feed.
Hey there, it's Ryan Seacrest for Safeway. Now through August 28th, it's back to deals time where you can enjoy store-wide deals and earn 4 times points. Look for in-store tags to earn on eligible items. From Hershey's, Cheez-It, Kellogg's, Gatorade, Smartwater, Skinny Pop, Oberto, Zoa, and Activia. Then clip the offer in the app for automatic event-long savings. Shop in-store or online for easy drive-up-and-go pickup or delivery. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply. Visit Safeway.com for more details.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Joe has a question about the legality of NVIDIA and AMD paying 15% of revenue from sales of the H20 and MI308 chips.
Yeah, Joe wrote on our Patreon, even if this is not unconstitutional, doesn't it sound like a violation of 18 U.S.C. 201 and or the FCPA, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act? It certainly seems like extortion of a bribe by a U.S. official to me. Or is it okay because the funds are sent to the Treasury office, not any particular individual? You kind of answered your own question there, Joe.
Yeah, I think you got
this
there.
Is a tax. I mean, there are people who argue that taxes are bribes, but they have not had success in court. So this is a tax. It's not a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act because AMD and NVIDIA are domestic companies. It could qualify as 18 U.S.C. 201 if they were paying an individual to say, like, we'll give you 15% of the revenue yourself if you influence the Commerce Department to approve our licenses. But no, this is all above board. The government is allowed to levy taxes. That's exactly what this is. They're calling it something else because nobody likes the word tax, but they're saying, like, there's a 15% tax on selling these kinds of chips to anybody. And even though the only customer is China, that makes it apply to everything. And that's no different than a tariff. It's not an export tax because you domestically could buy these, even though you're not gonna. So yeah, I think it's probably entirely legal.
Well, what do you think? If you have insight into this story or any other story we talk about, you can share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Big thanks to Joe for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You can keep us in business. All you got to do is become a patron. It's easy. Patreon.com/DTNS. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
If your dog could talk, they'd beg for Ollie. The full-body tail wag, the excited little hops, the big, goofy grin, that's the Ollie effect. Ollie delivers clean, fresh nutrition in 5 drool-worthy flavors, even for the pickiest eaters. Made in U.S. kitchens with high-quality, human-grade ingredients, Ollie's food contains no fillers, no preservatives, just real food. Just fill out Ollie's 30-second quiz and they'll create a customized meal plan based on your pup's weight, activity level, and other health info. Dogs deserve the best, and that means fresh, healthy food. Head to ollie.com/healthypup, tell them about your dog, and use code HEALTHYPUP to get 60% off your welcome kit when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a happiness guarantee on the first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/healthypup and enter code HEALTHYPUP to get 60% off your first box.